James was much admired on the island of Sodor. When he was pulling a passenger train, the passengers always admired him before he set off and often thanked him for a splendid run. Likewise, when he was taking goods trains around the island, the tradesmen were always happy when he arrived because they trusted him. "You are simply the best engine, James. Always smart and clean, always on time. In fact, the most reliable engine we know," they said. This made James very proud, and he often let the other engines know what everyone on the island had said to him. "I am simply the best," he bragged in the sheds and yards. One day, Thomas, Percy, and Edward had to work the yards at the docks, loading coal into trucks. This coal was a mixed load, which needed to be taken to the huge coal hopper, which sorted out the best grade coal for important passenger and freight train duties, and the other grade for shunters and less important work. Because Thomas, Percy, and Edward were busy loading up the trucks and shunting them into sidings, the Fat Controller gave James the job of taking loaded trucks to the hopper. James hated this work. It seemed every time he worked with coal, it rained, making his lovely red paint work filthy. It often took the yardman 2 days to get him sparkling clean again, and James hated being washed. When James arrived at the docks, it was indeed raining. "James, I've chosen you to do this job because you're fast and reliable. As soon as you've finished, you may do your favorite farmland run as a reward. Now, off you go." Although James loved the Fat Controller's praise, he still hated the task ahead. "Come on, old boy, we'll soon be done. You'll see," said his driver. But when they arrived, there was much confusion. The rain poured down, and the crane men refused to work any longer. "There's a threat of thunder and lightning. That's us finished until it passes," said one to James's driver. James complained bitterly as they sorted out their trucks, but there was nothing he could do about it. Engines worked come snow, storms, or floods. "An engine's job is never done, and be grateful for that," said his fireman before they set off. James was in a filthy mood when he arrived at the hopper. The work seemed slow. James's train of trucks was long, and he was slowly getting dirtier and dirtier, which made him more and more impatient. "Come on! Come on!" he yelled angrily. "I've got much more important things to do than watch you trucks being unloaded." But the trucks would have none of it. They knew James and his outbursts. "You're just like a big red pimple, and we all know what we do with red pimples, don't we? Pop 'em!" And the trucks all laughed. This made James even angrier, and he treated them. Then the thunder and lightning came. James hated this type of weather and grew more and more impatient. There were only 2 full trucks left to be hoisted. James biffed hard at it. "Come on! Come on!" he snarled, little knowing that his front buffer hook had become tangled up with the truck. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck the hopper, which made it go out of control. The works snatched at the hoist and lifted the truck at quite a speed. As the front truck was lifted, it dragged the back on with it, and as this was snagged onto James, James also felt that he was being lifted as well. But he was far too heavy for the winch, which came to a grinding but sudden halt. Coal was already spilling from the back truck all over James. He just couldn't see anything. Then the first truck, on the ramp itself, fell off, pulling the other one with it, which, in turn, pulled James off the rails. He fell sideways. As he lay on his side, coal spilled all over him and nearly covered him. He was done for, and there was nothing anyone could do until the breakdown train arrived. James was taken to the works to be mended. The Fat Controller was most annoyed. "I must learn to control your temper, James. Otherwise..." And he left James to think about what otherwise might mean. The following day, after the storm had abated, things got back to normal. But the Fat Controller wanted, more than anything else, to clear the huge lines of coal trucks in the dockyards. So he found a diesel. The other engines were most upset, but felt much better when he told them that the diesel was only there to clear away the coal trucks. After his job is done, he will be dispatched back to the diesel yards. The diesel was not at all efficient. He kept breaking down and was not as powerful as he looked. But one day, whilst in the coal hopper yards, a sudden thunderstorm arose. Lightning hit the rails right in front of the diesel. Smoke poured out of his engine cover. Then it cleared, and when it did, Diesel, somehow, looked different.
I feel marvelous! Please take me for a run,
he said to his driver, who duly obliged him. His driver couldn't believe the new power in E.D., as he was called. Now, instead of only managing to pull a few trucks, he could pull masses of them at one go. The dockyards were cleared in no time. The Fat Controller was most impressed. I shall try you out on my express passenger service, he said excitedly. E.D. was delighted. He felt so good, he thought he'd work all day and all night, but he forgot about his driver and engineer. We need our sleep, they told him. So E.D. had to stay in the yards close to the engine sheds. All the engines made rude remarks about him and wheezed him whenever they could. But no matter what they did, E.D. whizzed here and there and everywhere. Everyone waited to see him rush by. He sped through tunnels, through the countryside, through crowded mainline stations. In fact, he was going so fast that Gordon's record was under threat, which annoyed Gordon and the other engines immensely. Get ahead with Super Ed, they proclaimed. Even Ed's driver and engineer became special. They wore brand new uniforms with a badge with Ed's face on it. He stood proudly on the platform outside his office and admired Ed. People came up and shook his hand and told him what a splendid railway he was running now he was using Super Ed, and they wanted more like him. This was very disturbing news for the other engines. They blamed James for everything, no matter what. When he returned from the works, they wouldn't let him into the sheds. You can stay out there with your new pal Super Ed. It was your fault he arrived, so you can suffer all his insults, they said. So James had to park alongside Ed, who was very chatty.
Just can't wait till there's nothing but us diesels working these yards. You steam engines are messy, slow, and noisy. I hate them. But I must say, I do like you, James. If it wasn't for you, no one would have known just how useful I really am.
He scoffed and he sniggered away, leaving James to fume on the sidings. He wanted to pay the puffed-up diesel out, but he just couldn't think of a way to do it. The next day, Gordon was waiting for his train in the yards. Just then, Super Ed drew alongside.
I suppose you're waiting for the storm to pass. Well, nothing stops me. I'm a diesel electric and I like storms. That's why they call me Super, 'cause I'm super at everything, no matter the weather,
said Ed, and he purred happily, waiting for a signal to move on. Just then, a bolt of lightning struck Gordon's front bumper and zinged onto Ed. It seemed to spread all over him in a series of streaks. Ed's engine coughed and spluttered. Then thick smoke began billowing from the vents in his engine covers. His driver tried everything to make him move, but Ed was all seized up. More and more smoke poured from his engine. The smoke drifted into the station, making everyone cough and splutter. It was so dense, no one could see where it was coming from. The Fat Controller appeared on the platform.
Get rid of that smoke. If it's an engine,
then it should be scrapped. I'll see to that you mark my words, he said angrily, little knowing it was Super Ed, his new star engine. It was then the end for Super Ed. He never worked again. Gordon was everyone's hero. He made sure James was welcomed back into the sheds again. But remember one thing, said Gordon sternly. Those trucks might make you see red, but it's far better seeing red than that Super Ed. And they all laughed. James, the red engine, behaved much better after that.